Welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 169. I'm your host tonight, and I'm joined again by Just Cracker. How's it going, mate?
Good, thanks, man. How are you?
I'm good, except that this is the second take of the intro to the podcast.
It's all right. We only missed the first 10 seconds. It's okay. It's not like we were an hour in.
Should have left it in, but yeah, it's extremely rare that we ever have to like redo something in the podcast. Like very rare. We don't stuff up the intros. We don't go back and cut things out very often. And today started the intro and my mouth just stopped working. So yeah, take number 2, and now everyone knows about it. So I might as well have just left it in. But anyway.
Yeah, well, it's because you're about to be out of practice. You're getting in out of practice already. I don't quite know how that works, but here we are.
I've already checked out. It's something, I don't know if this happens in your work life, Cracker, but in my work life, when someone decides that they're leaving, they check out and it's like, no, I'll work. Like I'm working up until this day. It's like, sure. And no, their jobs fall to absolute pieces. So
yep.
Maybe I'm in that point of the podcast where it's like, no, I'm off next week, and I've checked out. I'm done.
Fair enough. Can't blame
Sounds about right. Sure.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's go with that.
We'll run with that. That's a worthy excuse. Yeah, cool. Anyway, just you and I are back again tonight. Chewy he's been travelling around a lot, actually. He was up in Bateman's Bay, and he played some Commander with Hemsey and Mr. M, I believe.
Did. In Canberra.
Up in Canberra. It's pretty cool. But he should be back on the next podcast because, as we said, I will not be. I am about to take off on a 6-week trip. I did on the stream this week. I think you were there for that, Cracker. We did some lovely geography lessons.
It was pretty funny when you're like, where is Austria? It's just like,
it's in Europe somewhere. Yeah.
It's in Europe. Yeah, it's, under Germany or something.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there,
Yeah.
But, figuring out how big countries are in comparison to Australia and how far we're travelling was good. Something a little bit different. I always like to keep it interesting on the stream. Got to have the snack plate. People come back for that every week.
They do.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the things we talk about every week on the stream is our awesome sponsors. So who is that, Cracker?
It's Josh and Pat. Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Wonderful Facebook auction page. Nightly auctions for physical Magic cards. You know them. We love them. They are the Win It Now auctions as well. The Win It Now, I said auctions. The Win It Now posts.
Lots.
With,
Win It Now lot. Buy it
now
lots.
Lots. You just say sold, and then the cards are yours, and then they arrive real fast with the dedicated shipping and the tokens that you get. And really good stuff up at the moment. Lots of Lord of the Rings cards making impacts all over the show. So go check them out. JP MTG Bazaar, and let them know that the Bean sent you.
Very good, and we will be talking a little bit about some Lord of the Rings cards tonight. We're going to be a mainly modern-focused podcast tonight. We have not spoken about modern for a while. There is a pro tour coming up at the end of the month. There should be another podcast before then anyway, but we thought it'd be a good time to talk about it. There's been a little bit of a shake-up in the modern format, which previously has been a format we've been super keen on, but we've grown a little bit cold on it for a while. But we had some really big news this week, speaking about Lord of the Rings stuff.
We did.
The one ring has actually legitimately been found.
It has. Found in Canada.
Yeah, opened by just a random person.
In a face-to-face games. I'm really happy that it was just a random person, not some collector or... not collector, but like someone who's buying just, like pallets of product and opening. Like it would have been really boring if Star City opened it or something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
And they were like an odds-on favorite, right? Yep. Like one of those guys, TCG player or something like that, who just cracks literal crates of cards to sell. So it's pretty cool. It was graded, Shorty.
Yeah. So I read there was a bit of an article posted, not from the person. So the person is still anonymous. They've done things the correct way. So they cracked it in a pack. I believe that they weren't in a store when they cracked it. I believe they were at home, but they purchased from a face-to-face in Canada, and they contacted their local store owner and said, hey, look, I think I've opened this thing. What do I do? And the owner suggested that they get in contact with PSA, who is one of the card grading companies. And so they contacted them. There was a bit of, proof that you've got it, that sort of stuff. And then they apparently flew to Canada to meet the person, to pick up the card, and then they flew to California to where they do the grading, did the grading, got some confirmation from Wizards that it was actually legitimate somehow, and then flew back to the person and returned it back to the person. And and then it got posted on Twitter that it was only graded as a 9, which is...
Well, it's got curling, mate, because it's a foil. So...
I mean, it's in a slab, so I'd hope you don't have curling in a slab.
No. It's definitely curled. The slabs aren't strong enough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I mean, the ring. It is the one ring. It is all powerful. So, got some. I mean, a ring is also round, so there's extra curve on the.
It's all flavour.
Yep. But yeah, so PSA tweeted to say, "Yep, we've graded the ring," and then not long after, Wizards then retweeted them and said, "Yep, we can confirm this is genuinely legitimate. It is the real One Ring." Mm-hmm. But the person who opened it has done the correct thing. They have gone through an agency who is dealing with all the press, like a press agency who, so any interviews, anything that people want to know, it's all going through this agency. So this person can stay completely anonymous and just be left out of it. And obviously now they're going through the process of figuring out, what they want to do with it, how they want to sell it.
How to extract the most money they can.
Yeah. So I would assume it will get bought by somebody. We'll find out at some point, and then it will probably just sit somewhere in someone's cupboard or on someone's shelf for ages, and then it'll get sold in
somewhere
in 10 years' time, just like when well-known pieces of art get sold and it gets bandied about. Oh, this piece of artwork sold for $25 million or whatever. It'll be something like that. It'll just pop up in the news every now and then, and it's not like you're going to see someone at your LGS playing with the One Ring. It's
no,
unlikely to happen.
Not that one.
There's going to be plenty of other the One Rings, but we'll get into that.
But not the one of one.
Yeah, but we did have a question. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to our #MTG Finance expert, Polywaffle.
Yep.
Is this going to tank the prices on the other cards? Like we sort of said that the One Ring is going to prop up a lot of the EV, like the potential EV from collector boosters and from the cards in the set. Does it all of a sudden just tank the prices? Like what are we seeing? What's it going to do?
No.
Not
really.
Don't think it makes any difference?
No. I mean, because it was such a tiny fraction of people being able to open it anyway. So, I think Frank did the maths on it because that's what he's good for, Mr. Carsten. And it's like the total increase of EV across all the packs that it could have been in is like a fraction of a cent kind of thing in terms of what your expected return. So there's still a lot of really, really valuable cards. All of the soul rings, the different versions of the serialized soul rings are worth a lot of money. And then there's the Commander promos. So the box toppers are all worth quite a bit. And
there's some special foiling.
The Surge foil.
Yep.
Yeah. So Chris and I cracked some boxes of collector boosters this week at work.
As you do.
And as you do, just a casual lunchtime. Just open some packs. And we actually opened a Surge foil Thorn of Amethyst. So it's called something else, but that's was worth about 300, I think Chris said, something like that. So it's a really interesting effect. It's not like a normal foiling process at all. It doesn't look like it's foily all across it. And so you can look at it and it's sort of flat sometimes, but then as you tilt it, it's got more foils and it's really hard to describe it. It's got tears almost the way that it looks like. So it's not kind of striations, almost like tiger stripe sort of effect.
Yeah, okay.
But it looks really cool. It's actually more subtle than you would expect for a name like Surge foiling.
Yeah, it sounds like it's over the top.
It does sound like it would be ridiculous, but it's actually not. But there's still a lot of really powerful cards, and like the different variants of the One Ring, and Orcish Bowmasters, and like Delighted Halfling, and these cards that are starting to see a lot of play already, which we'll get into. Plus, like there's Caracas, and there's like Ancient Tomb and Urborg, and there's just like a whole lot of really powerful stuff that's been reprinted that's just going to see a lot of play. And there's sweet foil variant arts. People dig that kind of stuff, and they've got Lord of the Rings names. So I mean, yes, I guess some people will say it's not worth it anymore, but that's like it was literally the lottery, right?
Hey, so it was like 1 in 3 million or something was the odds. So like from conversations I had with Chris before the set released, his thoughts were if the ring doesn't get opened for, months, you could see sealed product prices going up. Mm-hmm. As people, it's like, well, the odds are actually getting better. So, rather than a booster being whatever the collector's boosters are, like $40 or whatever. I don't even know whatever they are. They go up and then they go up and they go up. And as it goes longer and longer, those sealed product prices go up and up and up. And then as soon as the One Ring is opened, those sealed product prices just tank or drop back to what they should be for a set of that age. And but I think it was opened quick enough that it hasn't had that impact on the prices. So that's cool. But
and that's
there's
my
plenty of other stuff.
Too. Yeah, correct. I mean, collector boosters are they're a premium product. They pitch that way. They are, all foil all the way through pretty much, except for, like your extended arts and other things. So I don't think they were ever going to go, oh, look, it's a $80 pack. It's now worth $30 because someone found the One Ring. Right. It's like, no, it's now $78. Like it's not dropping that much. So yeah.
Yeah, collector booster, Lord of the Rings collector booster from Gameology is $55. So
okay, there you go.
The normal price apparently is $85, but you can get them for $55. But I just look at it as I've now just saved $55 because I was going to buy one and now I no longer have to. So
I gotta say, I'm in the same boat.
Yep.
Opening one of the numbered Soul Rings would be phenomenal. Those are thousands of dollars in a card.
Yep.
But there's only a few of those around as well. So, anyway.
All right. Well, a couple of other little quick topics before we sort of dig into Modern. So, I realised, I think yesterday, that there's actually a Command Fest in Melbourne next weekend. So,
sure is.
You were aware of this. This was one of those things. So, it is the 15th and 16th of July. And I leave for my trip on the 15th of July. So I think I just saw the dates and just went, hey, that's when I'm leaving, and just put it out of my mind. But when I was looking up details for the Pro Tour, it was like, oh, hang on, there's a Command Fest. So you're the Commander person, Cracker. You played some Commander with a couple of guys, with Polyorful and Matty P, Paulson, Infect Rules, whatever he wants to go by, this week. And I tuned in the background, did a bit of lurking.
Yep.
Who are you going to go? Are you going to try and get there? Like, what is the event? I've never been to a Command Fest.
So, neither have I, and sadly, I'm not going. We have stuff booked in for my kid's birthday is Christmas Day, Shorty.
Yes, I am aware of that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit unfortunate. So in July, we have a day called Leor Day, which is like a second kind of small birthday thing where it can be just about him. And unfortunately, we had plans booked for that weekend before I knew that this was on that weekend. So I won't be attending. But it's going to be at Coburg Town Hall, which is where most of the Magic events happen in Melbourne these days, certainly for the last few years.
It's not a bad venue. Like it's reasonably centrally located without being in the city.
Yep. There's cafes nearby and stuff so you can get food and things. It's fine. It's a big old hall with a wooden floor and that's about it. There's not much to it. It's literally what you'd think from a town hall. But, Command Fest. So $60 for a single day entry or, either Saturday or Sunday. You can get like a weekend pass for $180. I don't quite know how that's better. You get more stuff. You get
Commander decks and promos and all that sort of stuff.
But you can just turn up and play as well. There will be just tables that are casual, so you can join in. You can also join into like individual game tickets. So, you buy into playing a sanctioned, in air quotes, match, which will have like a judge. You'll have to have, like proper cards. You can't use proxies and things in those particular types of events. And then, you get like prize payouts. There's ticks and stuff where you can go and, buy things, win things from the prize wall effectively. So that's what your entry buys you. Yeah. I haven't been before. I imagine there'll be some, some stuff going on. Hopefully there's maybe some cosplay and some, I don't know if there's any artists this time around.
Yeah, RK Post is coming this time.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's great.
He's got some pretty cool art.
He does. I got a bunch of his signatures actually at the Melbourne GP many years ago.
Yep.
Back when I was playing OG Living End.
I know Chewy's got the
storm counters.
Like,
they're really cool.
Mana symbol counters, that sort of thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So if you're a fan of his work or if you're not sure, go check out his stuff because it's very cool. And his signatures are awesome. They're like almost like a little hieroglyphic looking kind of thing. It's not like a normal sort of signature. Very sweet. But yeah, that's kind of what's happening. So I was actually playing, with Chris and Matt to test with them. We were playing some CEDH, which is something I'm quite interested in. So we were kind of seeing how the decks lined up and what things to do and not to do and stuff. So yeah, we had a good time actually.
There were many combos and many times I heard, I'm pretty sure this person wins next turn, so we need to kill them now, or we need to find an answer. And then it's like, no, we didn't. We found the answer. Yeah, okay, we're all good. We continue playing. Or no, we didn't find. Okay, that person wins. Yep, cool, done.
Pretty much. It's actually really it's a very different game, and it's cool because you kind of play not face up, but a little bit more so. Like you if you know what the other people are like setting up to do, like someone like Chris demonic shooted on his turn. I was like, okay, so he can get a Prime Speaker Vanifar, give it haste, and then he has pod. He just wins. Like you need to be able to kill a creature in response or, do some things. So I was like, okay, do we have ways to interact on the stack and like trying to play around all that? So yeah, it's good. A lot of fun.
There's a bit of Thassa's Oracle demonic consultation.
There definitely was.
Going on.
I definitely did that
a couple of different people.
A couple of times. Yeah. Look, it's a very easy win to put together. You just need 2 cards and then maybe some protection. But it doesn't always work. So that's what makes it fun. It's not actually. And there was one game that took forever. Like it just ended up being an absolute grind fest because there were some stacks pieces in play, and like it made the game really drawn out, really interactive, which is cool.
Yep.
But it's not all going to be like that. They will set it up for different pods and power levels and things. Obviously, everyone gauges their power levels differently, but there will be like dedicated CDH sides or high power commander or whatever they want to call it. So don't feel like you have to join into those tables unless that's what you want to do. But if you've got, a precon with a couple of extra upgrades in it, maybe don't try those on.
Yeah, you'll find a pod. They'll put you in a pod with other people in a similar boat.
Yep, absolutely. And you'll have a good time. So
with all the other filthy casuals.
Hey, man. Sometimes just casting big spells is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. So Chris and Maddie are going for the Saturday, I believe.
Correct.
Yep. So yeah, if you are going, keep an eye out for 2 really tall giant people, and that'll probably Chris will be wearing either a moist Absam t-shirt or maybe a Magic Beans t-shirt.
Yeah,
and you will find them. So yeah, could be a lot of fun. And I'm sure you're disappointed to miss it, Cracker. But
I am.
I am
planning on playing more Commander. Yeah, well, kids' birthdays and stuff, kind of.
Yes,
they always land on these days, man.
It's because there's like 1 million kids between all of us. So
that's true. That is true. There is many. But you said you found that event while you were looking for details on the next event in Europe.
Yep. So we thought we would have to look into Modern because, we were aware that the next Pro Tour that was coming up is going to be Modern. And, there is Magic Con Barcelona. So this is the Magic Cons are where they're holding all the Pro Tours now. So they are, a big Magic festival type thing with main events and side events and the Pro Tour and cosplay, and they're doing like panels and all that sort of stuff. So they're a pretty big event, and this is the same. So they have, from what I've heard, every time they've done this, the Pro Tour's kind of been like separate, like off in a separate room.
Yes.
And it's like the PT people who are busy playing the PT, they don't go and check out the rest of the stuff, and the people who are at the rest of the stuff don't go and look at and it's like,
well, they're not allowed to. So like the PT people would be allowed to come into the main con area, but you can't just wander into the PT section, is my understanding.
I would have thought for sure like there would be like a viewing, you'd have a section where you can watch people play. Like I understand not allowing people in there to mingle and stuff, but even then it's like what's the downside to that other than having too many people in the hall while this tournament's going on?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they put up screens for the coverage and things in the event area, so there's spots to watch the matches as they're going there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't just let you kind of wander around the PT. But I think that's been true of all the PTs before as well. Like they weren't just open events.
I've never been to one. We'd have to ask Chewy that. He's the Pro Tour expert on the podcast, being that he's been there once 35 years ago.
Almost.
But yeah, I remember the last Pro Tour, watching the coverage. They had a big seating area. They had the commentators up on a stage with the seating area behind them, and then they had projectors. So all the people sort of sitting there were watching projectors of the coverage, and obviously speakers set up so they can hear what's going on, that sort of thing. So yeah, really cool. Like what I actually picture like an esports setup looking like, where they're in a stadium and you've got massive screens and you're watching people play with commentary and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I like that. It brings the spectacle of the Pro Tour to other people and to the sort of general public. So yeah, so that's going to be on the last weekend of July, so 28th to the 30th of July, and yeah, it's going to be modern. But it's also Lord of the Rings draft. So seeing as it is,
sure is,
Lord of the Rings is the modern set. It's that's the way it's worked out. So they'll be drafting Lord of the Rings, which from what I've heard is actually a pretty decent draft format. So
as long as you don't draft green.
Cool. Okay, I haven't heard enough about it to know that much. But
yep, green is basically unplayable, is everything I've seen.
Okay, yep. But yeah, these Pro Tour, Lord of the Rings draft, then modern, same sort of deal. Three rounds of draft and then constructed for the rest of the day. Then if you qualify for day 2, another 3-round draft and then more constructed and then modern for the top 8. But they're also running a 75 grand Lord of the Rings limited side event. Now, this is in response.
Massive. Yeah.
I think so they announced for
Vegas.
The Vegas Magic Con that there was going to be, I think it's 100 grand.
It is. It's a $100,000 limited event. And it basically sold out immediately.
But the tickets were like $200 and something bucks. Like it was quite expensive. And so there's a little bit of, usual Magic complaining type thing of people going, they're gatekeeping or whatever. But it kind of, from what I've heard from a few people, it kind of legitimized it. Where it's like, okay, this is a high roller event. Like it's done this way to attract the pros and the people who really want to go there and give it a crack because they think they've got a chance. Like you're not going to go into this if you're a limited scrub like me, because it's like, well, I'm literally just throwing $200 down the drain.
Yep.
But it gives you an opportunity to go, hey, I think I'm really good at limited. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is and try and win a bunch of money. So yeah, the Vegas one sold out really, really quick. And then, they went, okay, well, obviously the Vegas one sold out to a bunch of Americans. Well, we've got an event coming up in Europe. Let's do one in Europe. So it's only 75 grand this time. I don't know how much the tickets are for this one, but
so the US one, I'm just looking. It's $160 for the ticket for the 100K limited open, which actually is sealed for the first day. But you have to have a pass as well. So you've got to pay $30 for like the single day thing. Yep. So yeah, you're locked in for $195 US.
Yep.
Which is that's a lot of money.
It sure is, and sealed
but
is.
It's a lot of prize, I guess, is the other thing. So
yep, and people like that. Like it's the same. I don't know how it is still on Magic Online, but on Magic Online there was leagues, and it was like you could do leagues where the prize structure is like flat, where it's like you get like first, second, third, fourth, like it gets prizes down a decent way, or you could do leagues where it was like first gets a bunch of prizes, second gets a decent amount, and everyone else gets nothing. And
I think they used to be called 8-4s. So like first prize would get 8 packs, second to get 4, and then
and I think the other was like 4-2-1-1 or something like that, or it might be 4-2-2-1, something like that. So it was much flatter. But if you were a spiky player, you always played the 8-4s because it's like, well, I'm here to win, so I might as well get the maximum value out of it, as Magic players do. So anyway, this is coming up. It's it's going to be modern, and we thought we would dive back into the modern format because we spoke a little bit about the Lord of the Rings set through the preview season, and we weren't super hyped about it. We didn't think it was going to have a huge impact on modern. The general consensus was this isn't a Modern Horizons power level set.
Well, that's what Wizards came out saying.
Yes,
they
did.
That was them setting expectations, I think.
Yep. But there was definitely some cards that... Well, I don't know about that. Like, it's only a few cards that are actually good enough, and I think they were, other than maybe one of them, like, basically the 3 cards that are seeing play is the One Ring, which when we spoke about it, when it got previewed, it was like, yep, this is super powerful, and, it will likely see some modern play. Orcish Bowmasters, which, we knew straight off the bat, that's going to see... We knew it was going to see legacy play at a minimum. We thought maybe modern, not sure. We'll see how it goes. And then the one that I didn't even know this was a card, is Delighted Halfling. So they're the 3 cards that have really jumped straight into Modern and having quite an effect on the format, actually. So, yeah, we thought we'd have a bit of a look at the Modern meta, what's going on, what decks are playing the 3 cards, and go through that. So I thought maybe just to start, might be an idea to actually remind people what these cards are. We spoke about the Orcish Bowmasters on the last podcast, so probably don't need to talk about that one. But the One Ring, we haven't spoken about for ages. So the One Ring is a 4-mana legendary artifact, and it's indestructible, and it has, when the One Ring enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. And then it has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring, and you can tap it, put a burden counter on it, and then draw a card for each burden counter on it. So I've heard a lot of people complaining about the flavor fail, and I agree. This card should have the text, you can only have 1 in your deck, in the same way that there's 7 dwarves that say you can have 7.
Yeah.
That the Nazgul in the Lord of the Rings set says you can have 9. 100% this should have that text, and it would actually make a huge impact on the way these cards getting played.
It would.
So yeah, I guess at a base way of looking at this, it is 4 mana. You basically get to draw 3 cards and lose 1 life for that.
Yep.
And you get a turn of protection from everything. So, because you play it for 4, you can tap it, whether it's your turn, your opponent's turn, whatever, you tap it, you put a burden counter on it, you draw a card. So you've drawn that already. And then in your upkeep, you can lose the life, and then you can tap it again. It now has 2 counters, you draw 2 more cards. So that's a lot of value for 4 mana.
It's nutty.
Yeah. And the thing I'm hearing about this card that is putting it over the top is what I was just talking about then. The burden counters are on the specific card. So it's putting a burden counter on this One Ring. So if you've got multiple One Rings, well, you can, play this one and you get 2 or 3 burden counters on it. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm losing 3 life at the start of my turn. Oh, well, I'll just play another one. And this one has no counters on it. So I'll just reset that and
you've already drawn 5 cards from the first one.
Exactly.
And then you cast your second one and it's another protection. So it seemed difficult to evaluate. It obviously seems strong. The thing that I think I missed the most in this wasn't that, you drew progressively more cards. I never missed that. Or that it was going to deal me damage. I don't care about that. But the protection from everything until your next turn.
Yes.
It is...
It's huge.
It is Time Walk.
Yep.
It is actually way more powerful than it seems. And until you see it in play, and I've been watching a bunch of streams and a bunch of YouTube and stuff, because everyone's jamming it in everything. Everything you can think of.
Colorless, so why not?
Yeah, correct. So it's I saw people comparing it to Jace the Mind Sculptor, right? 4 mana card, draws you 3 cards, you got to put 2 back, right? But it's that kind of thing. And then people are like, well, it's actually better because it's not double blue. It's not a planeswalker that immediately dies. It's indestructible, so it's almost impossible to get rid of, right? Unless you've got leyline bindings or something. And then it doesn't get attacked the next turn. You can tap out on 4 with nothing in play. And like you said, draw 3 cards before your opponent can do anything. They can commit to the board, but then you've just got so much resource to work with.
Yeah.
It's
if you've got another one to back it up, it's like, okay, well, now I've got another turn of protection. But that was the thing that we missed. And we said that about, maybe it'll see play. And it was looking at it as, can you afford to take turn 4 off to do this thing? It's super powerful. It's, 4 mana, lose a life, draw 3 cards at a minimum. And we just kind of missed that. Oh, hang on. If you've got protection from everything, it is just a free turn, and that is the big difference. And if you get to untap with it and you've drawn 3 cards and you've had a free turn, and then the next turn you get to draw another 3 cards, you are so far ahead. It's not funny. So very, very, very powerful, and
drown people in card advantage.
Yep, and the effect that he's having on the meta, we will talk about. It has specifically affected a bunch of decks, and we will look at that when we get into some of the decks. But super powerful, and definitely becoming a 3 or 4 of in a lot of decks, because having multiples is really not a problem.
No,
it's actually
a thing.
benefit.
Correct. It's the thing you want.
Yep.
So because this card needed to be pushed over the top.
Yep.
Because it wasn't good enough by itself. There's a card called Delighted Halfling, which is green mana for a creature, halfling citizen. It's a hobbit. And it's a 1/2. It has tap, add colorless, and it also has tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell, and that spell can't be countered. So, legendary spell, Shorty. That's planeswalkers. That's legendary creatures, and it's the One Ring.
Yes, that's convenient.
Yeah, convenient is an understatement. So it lets you cast the One Ring on turn 3, and they can't counter it, and then
can't destroy it.
Can't destroy it. It's real sad about this one, man.
Yeah,
it's not looking good for our heroes over here.
Yep. I wonder why they didn't call it Delighted Hobbit. Like, I understand the creature type, like calling them halflings, because we already have halflings in Magic, don't we?
Well, they are halflings. They're called in like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Sometimes,
are they? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yep. I was just thinking maybe it's like it means if they call it a halfling, then it's not specifically a hobbit, and then they might have more opportunity to reprint it.
Sure.
In other stuff. Yep. So yeah, this card is seeing play in a bunch of different decks as well, like not just with the One Ring, but like Omnath type decks, like things that have a bunch of different legendary creatures, and it's good mana fixing, and it's just a 1 mana 1/2, like it's Deathrite Shaman almost. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the 1/2 is really huge because it means it doesn't get pinged by Ren and 6.
Yes,
and it doesn't incidentally get pinged by the first Orcish Bowmasters. So if you're on the draw and you play this on 1, your opponent untaps, they cast it. Bowmasters on 2, they can't kill it, which is a huge deal. So the fact that it lives through both of those super powerful 2-drops that are, again, massively impactful cards in Modern makes just a huge difference.
Also helps you cast your Ren and 6.
Sure does. Well, yeah, no, it does. Because it's Cavern of Souls, but you don't have to worry about having Cavern.
Yep.
And it lets you, because Cavern is only legendary creatures, so it doesn't help with Planeswalkers or...
No, Cavern, you name a creature type.
Oh, that's right.
And like when it enters, you name a creature type, don't you?
You're right. Yes, you do.
Yep, and then it's fixed, whereas this is just, legendary spells. So like I said, it's artifacts, enchantments, creatures, planeswalkers, it's everything. Look at legendary spells from a Dominaria set, don't we?
We sure do. You can say like Urza's Temporal Sundering?
Sundering, yep. Sounds about right.
Bounce some stuff and take a turn.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the other card that is seeing modern play is the Orcish Bowmasters, which we spoke about. And I don't think... Oh, so the other ones...
Oh, there are.
We'll get into the others when we get into some of the decks. So where do we want to go from here, Cracker? We want to have a look at the recent Modern Challenge?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yep. So, we've had a few events since the set released, and from what I've heard, the first couple of days, people were putting like 1s and 2s of, I think, cards like the One Ring into their decks, but I think a fair bit of that is actually due to the availability. Like apparently there are over like 100 tickets for a One Ring, but I believe at the moment on Magic Online there is the 2-week $25 whatever it's called pass thing where you can get access to every card. So I'm not sure when that started, but that may have had an effect. So those first couple of days it was like really restricted quantities, and now I think people are now able to pay their $25 whatever, get full access to every card, and then put 4 of One Rings into every single deck. So take us through some of the decks, Cracker. Let's
start off with Grinding Station.
Sure.
This is an Underworld Breach combo deck. So this is just a good deck. It's not new. It's been around for a while now. Underworld Breach is a busted card. If you don't know what it does, it's an enchantment that lets you... Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to its mana cost plus 3 cards from your graveyard. You exile 3 cards, but you fill your graveyard really quickly with Grinding Station and with Ledger Shredder and Emery. You can just kind of
Fisher's Baubles.
Yep, all that sort of stuff. Spell bombs. And this one is playing a couple of copies of the One Ring. So there's a couple of different ways that you can win. You basically use Grinding Station as one of the main win cons. So you sacrifice an artifact, This is from Mirrodin blocks. This is old. But it's an artifact for 2 mana. It says sacrifice an artifact. Target player puts the top 3 cards of their library into the graveyard. And whenever an artifact comes into play, you may untap Grinding Station. So, you have that with a Bauble or something like that and a Underworld Breach in play, and you just kind of churn literally through your whole deck. You can basically go, I'm going to shortcut this and say, I put my deck in my graveyard, and then you cast stuff back from the graveyard. You not flashback, but you then cast a Thassa's Oracle and win the game that way. Or you can just do it to your opponent. So, yeah, really resilient. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it actually has a lot of play to it and, a bunch of removal spells and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's got 4 Ragavans and some Ledger Shredders and, yeah.
You can just beat down as well.
Lightning Bolts. So.
Yep.
And you get to play Expressive Iteration. So, yeah, never going wrong if you're playing Expressive Iteration, that's what I say.
I would agree with that sentiment. What do you see in this next list? Because this one's interesting.
Which list is that, Cracker?
It's the one from McQuinsource in second place.
Is this 4-color Omnath?
Well, it is. So this one I've got, he's playing 2 Chalice of the Void, 4 Wandering, 2 Omnath, 4 Solitude, 2 Dress Down, 4 Leylines. Leyline Bindings. And then 2 Force Negation, 4 Counterspell.
Okay.
So, interesting deck. And then also, like, Teferis, Ren and 6s, Supreme Verdicts, Prismatic Endings.
Yeah, I'm surprised to not see the Delighted Halfling in this one with the amount of legends that you've got.
I guess they're trying to just chalice on 1.
Yeah, I guess you
pretty early, or 0.
Chalicing on 1 and then not being able to cast your Delighted Halfling, but
yeah. So that's interesting. I that's not a list I would expect to see. It's certainly not like a normal Elementals list or anything like that. There are some other ones that are more indicative of what we would see. But yeah. Then the next one I can see we've got is what have we got? Yawgmoth.
Yeah.
Yawgmoth combo.
So Yawgmoth is a deck that I know Chris has played, but I'm not a Yawgmoth expert. But from what I've been hearing about this list, it's basically like Yawgmoth is a combo deck, and you can add in, like this list is playing 4 One Rings, 3 Orcish Bowmasters, 4 Delighted Halflings. It's got all 3 of the cards.
Yep.
You can basically just add in those cards, and it doesn't affect your combo at all, and kind of helps it, or like adds in another part of a combo sort of thing, from what I'm hearing. But it's just helping your game plan.
Pretty much. That's the way I understand it as well. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anyone playing this, but yeah, I mean, Delighted Halfling ramping out uncounterable Grists is pretty great, and also like uncountable Yawgmoths. And, the One Ring as well. You don't really care about your life total with this deck. You end up, kind of gaining a bunch back with Blood Artist and things like that. And then Bowmasters is just a good threat that you're just happy to kind of have. It feels like sort of the perfect shell with the colours that you've got here.
Yeah, and it gives you more fodder for Yawgmoth.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's 2 bodies and messes up your opponent's plans, so seems quite good. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Chris 61
card special.
A decent amount of this.
This one,
as you do.
Couldn't work out what the last cut needed to be.
Oh dear.
And then underneath that, we've got Amulet Titan.
Yep. Again, another polyawful special.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's picked up anything new.
No. I could potentially see it playing the One Ring.
You kind of just want to go fast.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know enough about Amulet Titan.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, you know about this sort of deck though, Shorty. You know about Death Shadow.
Grixis Death Shadow. I do have this list in front of me, yes. So this list has picked up some Orcish Bowmasters, and yeah, it's good to see Grixis Death Shadow coming back in, because it's kind of been dead for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Like it kind of, like, is it Murktide just kind of took the place of Death Shadow? It's like, this is just a better... You're kind of doing similar things, but you're not killing yourself in the process. And
exactly. I don't have to go to 4 to have an 8/8. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I'm going to extreme measures to have this large creature, or instead I could just do the same stuff and then play a flying creature that's really large that continues getting larger without me losing life. So yeah, I don't know why this would have done well now as opposed to something. I mean, Orcish Bowmasters, maybe that is enough. We were saying earlier, Cracker, like sort of looking, we've gone through, 6 or 7 decks so far, and none of them are Murktide.
Nope.
Which, considering that Murktide is generally the number 1 deck in the format in terms of metagame percentage, it's not there. So is it Bowmasters that's keeping that down? Like, Murktide does draw a lot of cards.
Yeah, I think that's a real big problem for it. I mean, it does play a lot of removal spells as well, but it also is looking to kill on that turn where your opponent gets to draw a bunch of cards with the One Ring. And like, if that's your advantage of an Izzet deck, is just, I get to outvalue you by drawing more cards than you do. If that's not true anymore, then okay, it's not a great place to be in. I think it's been dropping down a little bit as well. I think that creativity is really kind of, in the last couple of months, sort of pushed it out as far as being the better Izzet deck in a lot of people's minds, because you basically just get to do all the same things except then kill people more quickly.
Yep.
So kind of like creativity in
Pioneer.
In Pioneer, over playing the bin chickens. I think it's in a similar kind of space like that, where you get to play with creativity a bit more of like a draw go kind of control-y game, and then you slam a couple of Archons in, and then that usually locks it up pretty quickly. But that deck is also not in this.
Yeah, we were speaking of that.
We were chatting about that before. So is it creativity? Obviously super powerful, super popular, but the One Ring just shuts it off, because same thing. You can't outgrind it anymore. You don't have the inevitability. I've heard a couple of people talking about this. And the other thing is the protection from everything means that when you slam your Archon of Cruelty into play that says target opponent, well, you can't target your opponent. So you get a 6/6 that doesn't do anything. Or maybe 2. I mean, there's 6/6s. Like,
you draw a card, you gain 3 life.
Sure.
And it's a 6/6 was flying, but that's not really what you're going for.
Correct. No, that's exactly right. That's kind of the half of the card. But I mean, if that's your number 1 game plan, and then the One Ring really slows it down, and it doesn't propel you in terms of card advantage way in front. And the other thing that we were talking about before is making the One Ring uncounterable. So that's the other thing that, is it creativity is trying to do, and Delver as well. Murktide is sitting on like Spell Pierce and those kinds of interactive spells. But if you can't do that, that's a real problem.
Yeah. So the list, I've pulled up there is a creativity list in the challenge that I'm looking at. It's down in 18th. That's the highest one. And running 4 Spell Pierce, but actually running 3 main deck Reprieve, which does counter. Well, because it doesn't counter, it does help you against the One Ring. It is 2 mana, which is rough, but it's worded. I didn't actually realize this when we looked at this as a preview, but it's worded differently to Remand. Like, Remand counters the spell and then puts it back in their hand, which when it's uncounterable, that doesn't work. Whereas Reprieve is just return target spell to its owner's hand, draw a card.
Yeah,
so
it's like OG Teferi, the creature.
Yep.
Did the same thing.
Yeah. So, like this creativity list I'm looking at, we've got 3 Reprieve, we've got 4 Spell Pierce, which doesn't work if they've got the Delighted Halfling, and then 4 Leyline Bindings, which can deal with the ring once it's down, but you've got to have it then and there. Otherwise, your Archon of Cruelty is just not good enough. So, maybe we'll see. You were talking earlier, Cracker, about maybe the creativity list will change what creature they're playing. Like, I think you said, what did you suggest?
Sundering Titan, I've seen people talking about.
Just blow up people's lands.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a bunch of Triomes in play and your opponent gets to blow up 5 of them, it doesn't matter how many cards you've got in hand if you can't cast them. So, but I tell you what, though, Shorty, there's a deck underneath this one that does not play Triomes. It does not play very many lands at all, and I'm kind of excited.
Is it?
It's Living End, man.
Oh, your old bow.
My old favorite. It's it's had some more upgrades. And some upgrades from Lord of the Rings in Oliphant and Generous Ent. And they've basically just taken the lands out of the deck and put these ones in instead, because you get to do mountain cycling. So Oliphant has mountain cycling for colourless, and the Generous Ent has forest cycling for colourless. So that doesn't mean basic either, so that means you can get your breeding pools or your stomping grounds and things like that. Now, Shorty, I don't know if you remember this, but I used to play a card in Living End very long time ago called Valley Rannet.
No,
mate. How do you not remember this Alara Reborn Common All-Star that had Mountain Cycling 2 and Forest Cycling 2?
Right.
Let me tell you, in a living end deck that is not playing very many lands, the difference between a Cycler for 1 and a Cycler for 2 is about 1,000.
Yes.
And particularly when you're like hurting for land drops, which is one of the things that happens. It's living end has got a weird tension where you're trying to cycle as much as you can, and you quite often start with a single cycler on hand, and then you're trying to draw into more and then more, but lands obviously stop you. And so by cutting the number of lands you've got in total and just increasing the overall density of the creatures, but those creatures then finding you the lands when you need to, because you have to hit 3, right? None of your spells cost less than 3. That's the whole joke of the deck, right?
Don't have Simian Spirit Guide anymore.
Do not have Simian Spirit Guide anymore, which is kind of sad. That card was, kind of broken. Yeah. It's definitely not a fair Magic. If we're like, free spells. But looking at this, it plays Force of Negation, and then it plays Grief. This one's got Furies in it as well. There's, Street Race, which you can cycle for free. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you can get up to. But we're talking about free cards, Shorty, and I was like, there's a sideboard card that people are talking about. I'm in one of the Living in Facebook groups to keep up with all the tech. And there's another card called Commandeer, which is...
I've played that card.
Commandeer is 5 blue, which seems really good in a deck that's got 14 lands. It's an instant. But it has some other text. It says, you may remove 2 blue cards from your hand from the game rather than pay Commandeer's mana cost. And it says, gain control of target non-creature spell. You may choose new targets for it. And then the rules text is, if that spell is an artifact or an enchantment, the permanents come into play under your control. So this is what people are talking about as like a really clean answer to just Delighted Halfling your thing into play. I'll just steal it. Because you're not countering it, you're just commandeering it.
Yep. Just going, that's mine.
I'll take that. I don't know whether that's real or actually good, but people seem interested, so it's worth looking at. And another card that people are talking about is called Press the Enemy, which is an instant for 2 blue. And it says, return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its cost. So it's another one of those cards that let you to cast Living End from your hand without having to kind of go through some of the stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting choice. Some upgrades that, it's the old joke that like looks like Dredge got some new toys, but now it's like looks like Living End got some new toys and just slowly working its way back through. But this list is kind of more back to like the way I used to play it. Kind of more aggressively cycling just big creatures, and then you're looking to like Violent Outburst, end of turn, untap, and just smash face. Which I always really enjoyed about it. You go from nothing to 25 power in an end step. Always felt pretty great. Your opponent's like,
it's just untap and you're dead.
Yep.
Cool. Easy. Yep. Yeah, I mean, since you played it previously, like it's having Grief is really good. Force of Negation is really good.
Yes.
And just that, like you said, like dropping your land count means you can fit either more Cascade cards, like the lists are running 12 Cascade cards. Or more cyclers or creatures to get in your graveyard. So much of your deck is free or 1 mana to cast, and it's just cycling through, hit that third land, cast your spell, force negation back up, and you're good to go. So still doesn't beat a turn 4 One Ring when they've got protection from everything. Because
that's true. But then your
creatures count as part of the everything, Cracker.
They do. They really do. Yeah. You don't get to attack through that. But that's right. Then you get like a whole nother turn to just cycle away to your heart's content.
Yep.
or something. I'm not saying the deck's perfect, but it's legitimately very strong again. Which is cool. There's a lot of really strong decks, and I think one of the most interesting things to me is no one knows what the best home for the One Ring is. It's people are just jamming it in existing shells, but there's a pretty good chance that whatever it's actually best in is new or like just a something that hasn't been on anyone's radar for a long time. And the people that are going to break it are not going to tell you for another few weeks.
You'll find out at the Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of the pro testing teams, listen to the competitive Magic with the Carnies with Mengucci and Javier and Anthony Lee, and they are just not talking about Modern. They haven't been for a little while and won't be talking about Modern for the next couple of weeks because they don't want to give stuff away. So, it's you're unlikely to hear much Modern content from people who know what they're talking about. You'll hear Modern content from people like us who just make wild guesses. But, people are going to be trying to hide things. And, it'll be cool. Like I'm going to be probably in the middle of nowhere when this Pro Tour is on. I'm hoping I can get enough internet to actually watch some because, going back and watching Modern is going to be cool. So, like, looking at this Modern Challenge results, it's I've got to go down. So there's a Grixis Death Shadow in 4th and 9th. There's 2 Hammer Times in like the top 16. And it's just like, there is just so many. And then you get further down and it's like, there's Burn. There's Hammer Time. There's Jeskai Control. There's just a random black, green,
Scam.
like rock deck. There's Rakdos Scam. There's Burn. There's Mono Red mid-range. What on earth is that? I got to open that deck list because who knows what's going on there. It's I think it's mid-range because it's Mono Red Blood Moon. We've got Seasoned Pyromancers and Blood Moons and Fable of Mirror Breaker, but
okay.
Sure, it kind of feels like Modern has gone back to the...
it's wide open again.
10 years ago, which is what we loved when it was like super wide open. Although, listening to a few people on podcasts recently, they talk about how, like, this is what we love, like, as in the casual competitive players who play occasionally, whatever. This is what we love. Like, we love to be able to go, I can play whatever I want. There's like 40 decks in Modern and I can pick almost any of them up, or I can have my pet deck and play and have fun and do well. But that's not what pros like, because it means they can't target a metagame. They can't pick a deck that's going to, people are going to play this deck, so we can pick this deck because that beats that one, and we can, have these sideboard cards and these cards in the main deck and whatever to beat that metagame. So there's this real tension, I guess, from like Wizards' point of view, where it's like, hey, look, Modern's amazing, Pioneer's amazing, you got heaps of different decks, but the pro players hate it. And the general public's going, this is awesome. But then if you have a format where it's like standard, where there's 3 decks and that's it, the pro players love it because they can, figure out those little intricacies and whatever, but the general public hate it because there's only 3 decks and it's really boring. So
yep,
it's it couldn't be making Wizards' job any easier or getting their formats right. There's still, going through the list, like there is still Mono Green Tron, which for sure has to be a list that is playing the One Ring, but I've pulled the list up and it does not.
I also think
it is. It is. Yes. Sorry, I was missing it there. I have actually noticed, and I've heard a little bit from people lately that the Mono Green lists are moving away from being Karn liberated and Ugin heavy. And they're moving more into running Cityscape Levelers and Sundering Titans and more main deck Wormcoils and playing more creature-based stuff. Because, back in the day, turn 3 Karn Liberated was backbreaking. It's like, yep, turn 3 Karn, exile your land, and then just take over the game from there. And now it's like, that's just not good enough. And there's a million ways to counter your turn 3 Karn.
How is that possible? Yeah, it's insane, right?
Yeah.
I imagine Chewy will have to look at some copies for E-Tron as well. Feels like, even if it's just one in your wish board, it seems like definitely a really solid target to go and fetch up.
Any other lists you want to highlight to people? There's Mono Black Coffers kicking around, which I know Polywaffle was super keen on. That's also playing the One Ring.
It is. Yeah, I was watching Mengucci play that tonight. Actually, he was jamming some leagues. It's he won his last game in a minute 20. I think he had started the last game with 2.5 minutes on the clock and finished it with 45 seconds left or something. So
wow,
just went aggro beatdown. Yeah, the Coffers deck actually seems strong. Seems interesting. Can do a bunch of things. Turns out when you've got Limited mana. You can kind of just do whatever nonsense you want, like hardcast Emrakul.
Yep.
Pretty great way to do it.
Yeah. There's the Domain Zoo list, which Azzy G was playing in Melbourne a few months ago with Scion of Dracos and Territorial Carvus and all that sort of stuff. It's an interesting deck.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. No new cards in there, though.
You can kind of just do whatever you want, which I think is awesome. Because you can just play Burn or you can play Infect or like any of those kind of things that you want to. Are they going to be like the absolute tippy top of tier 1? No. If you know what you're doing, though, kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's what we were saying before. Like that's what Modern used to be, where it's if you have your deck and you know how to play it really well, you're going to have much higher win rate than just picking up the deck that people think is the top deck. That's just kind of wasn't how Modern has worked. That's not how Modern used to work. I think over the last couple of years that has changed a bit, and there was definitely a tier, a few tier 1 decks and then some tier 2 decks and whatever, and then just a bunch of random stuff below that. But hopefully this set is enough. Like maybe just these 3 cards going into the set into the format is enough to even Modern out and make it exciting again. So yeah, going to be interesting. I think there's like, I don't know, 6 decks out of there that I would be happy to play if we had a Modern tournament.
Yeah.
It just comes down to what cards Chris has, because I don't have any of them.
Well, we did open a playset of August Bowmasters while we were cracking some packs. So there's some of those running around. But yeah, I'm not going to try and make a recommendation. I don't think. No. I think it's too early, and like there's no big event coming up that we're doing that sort of thing. So just keep your eyes open, see what takes your fancy, and see what people are doing. But yeah, I'm definitely very keen for this PT. It's going to be sweet.
Yep. Yeah, it should be cool. Yeah, I am definitely hoping that I can manage to get enough internet reception to watch some of that, or if not, I might have to go back and watch some replays or something. But yeah, it should be really cool. So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure that you and Chewy will talk about that a little bit more heading into the event with the next podcast.
Sure. And absolutely.
Maybe by then we'll have a few more events played. We might get a bit more of a metagame idea and all that. But yeah, safe to say that despite not being a Modern Horizons power level set, it is actually having an effect on Modern, which is really cool to see. I would like to see if this has the effect that it seems to be having and it's not broken and it's like, okay, the One Ring has ruined everything sort of thing. I would love to see this going forward when they do these Modern sets, which always frustrated me with the Modern Horizons sets, where it's a full shake-up and you have to have all these Modern Horizons cards and there's so many of them and you have to have them. Otherwise, your deck's just gone. Doesn't exist anymore. Yep. And so if it's just, here's 3 cards that you can add in some decks, then that's perfect and it changes the format. So hopefully that's what we're seeing. So stay tuned for more Modern stuff in the next couple of weeks. And I think that's going to do us for tonight. Last thing to mention on the way out the door, our league, the Stage 2 is about halfway through. We've nearly finished the round 3 of the Swiss rounds. And so far, we've only got 1 player on 3-0, which is Wunga Sith. There's still a couple, I think 3 matches left to be played in round 2. So we've got Azzy G and Joffrey Bieber, who I think they might actually be playing right now. One of them will progress to 3-0. And we'll have 2 players sitting on the top of the ladder at 3-0. So awesome. It looks like a 4-2 record is enough to qualify you for top 8. And maybe one person may sneak in on a 3-3 record. Just depends how it all goes and with breakers and that sort of thing. But cruising along nicely, which is good to see. And not surprised to see the people up at the top of the ladder who are there, because they are, very good Magic players. So keep getting those matches done, and we'll keep posting updates in the Discord, and then the finals, the top 8, will kick off in a couple of weeks' time while I'm away. So that's going to be your job to sort that out, Cracker.
Okay. Sounds like news to me, but sure, we'll make it happen.
Well,
I promise you,
be my job.
the games will get played. We will have a winner.
Yep. We're going to get everyone to roll a dice, and that will determine who the winner is. Done.
No, we're going to do flavor wins. You just turn your deck face up and show why your deck's better than your opponents.
Nice. Yep, sounds good. All right, so that's going to do us. If you do want to get in on our future leagues, there will be one more league for this year. So to get in on that, just come and join us in the Discord. The link for that is in the show notes, as always, as well as a link for our merch store if you want to grab some sweet Magic Beans gear. Maybe if you order it right now you might get it in time for the Command Fest next weekend and you can rock up in your Magic Beans hoodie or whatever, but that's probably unlikely. Either way, go and buy some because it's cool stuff, and all the money from that just goes back into prizes for the different things we do. We also get money and prizes and things from our awesome sponsors, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. So just go to jpmtgbazaar.com.au and join the Facebook group. Check out the daily auctions. And then if you want to find us anywhere, you can just go to magicbeanscast.com. We've got all of our links there for YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at Peace Inc. And you are, Cracker?
At JoelHill_.
Very good. So that is it for this week. Thank you as always for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you next time. Well, I won't. I'll be gone. Enjoying my holiday.
I'll be here.
See you, everyone.
Bye.